Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, a show that celebrates all things nerdy. You'll get an insider's look into the world of comic books, graphic novels, TV and film, gaming and pop culture, as well as the technologies that drive all of it. Now, are you ready to get nerdy? Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and so much more. I'm Brian.
I'm Brian Rodman.
You keep muting me. Stop muting me.
Sorry, Chad.
I hate you.
Who are you? Who are you again?
I hate Brian. That's my official first name.
All right, cool. And who else do we have on the show?
I'm Rodrigo.
All right, Rodrigo. And we have the amazingly wonderful Ted Davies with us. But before we give him a proper introduction, we are a proud supporter and included in the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, a channel that is dedicated to comics and entertainment and relaxing and drinking and watches and all the great things that one would ever want to know about and be a part of. We are, I believe, the last show this evening on the network, and then we'll start up again tomorrow with Brian K. Morris's Nevermind the Furthermore at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And thank you for joining us, and we love being a part of this community. It is a great group of people. And now, without further ado, oh goodness, I apologize. I'm a little bit off my game. The air has been rude to me.
Sounds like it. You sound like you're dead. You're like, I just want to thank everyone on the Rising Tide Network. We are so happy to be a part of this network. Please check out all the other shows. We're the last show tonight.
We're the last show standing this evening. Oh, good grief. But okay, so tonight we're actually going to be talking about the future of the comic book culture. And we are not prophets, although Chad likes to claim that he is. And we don't have, any kind of special insight into the future or anything. But we just, want to spend some time speculating about some ways that comics will shape the future of culture and, think about our part in that, because we are all doing that. But before we jump into the topic, we have a very special guest with us this evening, who is it's me. Yeah, it's Jeremy. Jeremy's here, and we're happy to have him. No, we have Ted Davies, the creative mind behind Ted Davies Artistry. He's the author and illustrator behind several publications, including Grim 101, Retrieve, and Albino Zulu. He is also the host of multiple shows on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, including Ted Draws, Drinking with the Davies, the Truth Mongers. Let's be honest, Chris is actually the host of Drinking with the Davies. You're just
I'm Spoon Boy.
You're the helper. The Truth Mongers with Glenn B. Fleming, Comics Unlimited, podcast, TED Talks, and Ted and Carl's Cigar Show, and also from the trenches of Hollywood. Yeah, man, my gosh, so many. So please welcome the true Renaissance man, ladies and gentlemen, Ted Davies.
Thank you.
And Ted, you've already been on the show, so you are already an honorary dingo. But
proudly.
Probably. He's like, I have no memory.
No, he said proudly.
I said probably. Yeah,
probably. But I'm going to give you the solo layout here, man, and just tell us. We kind of gave a little bit of a rundown, but tell us what you're working on and how we can follow you better.
Sure. Well, hello everybody. God, that's boom right on there. Well, first off, let me apologize because we don't have internet here at the house. We had a really bad ice storm. So if we lose power, that's it for me tonight. But anyway, if the lights stay on, I'm still working on the Grimm series right now. I'm also working steadily. We've been working with Craig Hall in LA on the Retrieve adaptation to movie, from the book to movie. We've been working on that a lot. That's ongoing. We've got just a ton of stuff happening with the new conventions that are coming out now. Let's see, next week I've got one of the first conventions I've had in 2 years, and then I'll be with these crazy guys down in Lexington soon, end of next month. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, ton going on right now. A lot going on.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ted. And before we jump into our topic for this evening and a little round table discussion, let's jump into the comment section. Jeremy, what do you think about that? You really like it, don't you? You absolutely love it.
Love it.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. So, all right. So, first in tonight, always, is Donna Carleen coming at 6:36 this evening. She was super early, and Carl was not too far behind her. Hello to both of you. Everyone's saying hello in the comments section. Rick Bradley, how you doing, man? He's saying hello. Carl's saying hello. Das Bedanya.
To Queen, whatever her name is.
Queen Willifong. Yeah.
Willifong.
Should give a shout out to the Queen. It's Ted. We know. Ryan says hello, everyone. How are you? Hello, sir. How are you? And Ryan Permission says Lexington Comic-Con is going to be electrifying with you guys there. Absolutely. Oh, I will be there on Saturday and Sunday. I will not be there on Thursday and Friday because screw that. But Brian says Queen Wilgong, good to see you. Yes, we must give the homage to the Queen. We might have to go to Lexington. Carl, I think you should. Actually,
Yeah.
That would be.
I think so, man. Absolutely.
Brian says, good evening, dingoes. Good evening, Russian bots. They must have known I was here. You know, Brian, I think really we need to create a safe space for the Russian bots. I think that's all. They just want love. That's all it is. Sometimes too much love. Rick Bradley says, hey, Uncle Carl. Donna says, Carl is usually behind me. Oh, my. Donna says, hey, Ryan. Hey, Brian. Hello. Brian says, hey, Donna. We're all happy. We're all together. And that's the comments so far. Is there an echo in here?
Yeah,
Is that happening?
I'm hearing it. Is it from me?
I don't know.
It might be for me since I'm not plugged in.
Hello.
All right, I'm gonna try the other headphones.
Actually, hold on. I don't know that it is you,
Okay.
Chad. No, it's you, Chad.
Okay, let me try the other headphones. Hold on.
Chad ruining everything as usual.
Oh, you mute my mic.
I did. I thought it might be you for a minute.
I do.
So while we're doing that, actually,
While we're
let's
just
go
sitting
ahead.
around.
Yeah, while we're just
Dead
sitting
air.
around here. This is not dead air. I am speaking. Damien, tell us why you're so great and where we can find all of your goodies.
Wow. Well, have started that OnlyFans. No.
Wow.
I'm
That
Jamie
costs
Goldfriend.
extra.
You can find me at ruomniversal.com.
Did you say you and your girlfriend? Is that what you just said?
Nope.
No, I said you can find me on OnlyFans.
Oh, I thought you said you and your girlfriend can find me. I was about to say, my goodness, sir.
You, your girlfriend, your mother, your brother's uncle, you can all find me. ruomniversal.com. That's it.
Fantastic.
It's all there. Toys, games, books.
That's enough out of you. Chad.
You can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, where I post frequently updates on projects I'm working on, specifically The Silence, which is a sci-fi comic book. And you can also find that on thesilencecomics.com or thesilencearts.com.
Fantastic. Jernbo Bagwood.
You know the deal. You can find me and all my stuff down in my basement. In fact, I'm working on a new project. I don't know if you can see this.
Nobody can see that.
See? I
It's
just
your-
bought this
your
domain. Yes,
My
my
basement
basement
dot
dot online. Yeah. So I'm working on that now.
I'm surprised it doesn't say .biz.
I know. I tried. My basement
Oh, it wouldn't let
biz
you?
is unavailable. Yeah. So yeah, I help comic book creators do like Kickstarter campaigns, crowdsourcing and things like that. I also work with businesses to develop their websites, integrate what they do now into a website if they don't have one, just to kind of like make their lives a lot easier. And most people they have a story to tell, but they don't know how to say it online. And that's where I come in. You know, I've got all of the lights and cameras and things like that to make the production quality good.
You have all the action too.
Yep. So that's it. That's me.
All right. I'm Brian, and that's enough of that. No, you can find me at brianrobin.com. I am the author and illustrator of Memoirs of an Angel and the Nebulizer. Also, I am 1/4, sometimes 1/5 of the of comic book spectrum. And I am also 1/4 of the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, but you already knew that because you're here. You can find me and all my shenanigans at brianrobin.com. And what do you guys say we jump in?
Thank you, Ted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, I got to say,
quick reading right there. Sorry.
There is nothing quick about that reading.
You're welcome.
And that's a good thing. That's a huge compliment. I will say this. There are so many things that I enjoy making fun of Chad about at any moment, at any time. Welcome. I enjoy making him feel about this tall as much as I can, but I can't do that with the silence because it's brilliant, and I hate you for that, Chad.
You're welcome.
So yeah, whatever. No, it's fantastic. If you haven't read it, actually, go back to the previous episode, and you'll know a lot more about it because we talked to Chad about the silence quite a bit. But tonight,
appreciate that.
We are going to talk about what the future brings in the comic book industry.
I love the title up here. It says "The Future of Comic Book."
Yeah, that's it. Just
the one.
Can I interject before you get rolling here? Jeremy did a fantastic job in Grimm 101 Book 2's video. He worked with me on this. Damien's been working with me, as everybody knows. I sit amongst gods as far as I'm concerned. This is a great show. So go ahead. All right, go ahead.
You can say that.
Oh, yeah. Damien's
continue.
Damien's like, if somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. We got some more comments coming in really quick. So let's jump on that. And Brad K. Morris says, the bots have a safe space. Never mind the furthermore is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central. # always promote. Well done, sir. And of course, everyone wants Damien's goodies. That needs to be a bumper sticker. Ryan says, don't you say plugs to the end? We have plugs at our ends, but not on the show. Ryan says, that's right. Ryan says, are you still the master of your domain?
I am.
Oh, yes. Brian says, Ryan, I get my plugs in before they kick me out. And Eric says, good evening to everybody. And Carl says, like a bot boss, BKM. Yeah, he kind of just draws them all there. And he says, hey, the Eric. And everyone is saying hello to Eric. Ryan says, way to go with supporting others, Chad. Don't compliment him. Brian K. Morris says, good man, Carl. It says 1/5. I could use a 5th right now. Indeed. Yes, sir. Yeah. Donna says, nothing quick. That's what she said. Oh, dear. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to his channel. Oh, yeah, these guys too. Actually, yeah, we'll take a moment and say, if you're watching right now, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, hit that bell and subscribe. So that way, you know, whenever we have a new episode. And now he is just guffawing at Donna. Ryan says, the future of comics is simple. Indie creators take over and the big two go away. Perhaps that could actually happen. I don't know.
I think that's a possibility. Totally.
It's definitely a possibility. We'll explore that because I think there's some good and bad sides to that. Rick Bradley says the future of comic books, monkey meat. Of course. Oh gosh.
No.
That stupid book. Fully endorsed by the Eric Hawkins. And Eric says he mastered his domain twice today. Thank you for that.
Seinfeld reference.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Donna Carly says already liked and shared. Thank you, madam. We always appreciate that. And now our also not so subtle transition into the topic for tonight.
I love that.
Yes, I love it too.
Awesome.
Jeremy's face is always great. Jeremy, don't you agree? Yes, of course you agree.
Yeah, that is completely creepy.
Oh, yeah.
That is so terrifying.
We need so much more of that. That's
I
so
know
great.
we do. We really do. Okay, guys. So we're gonna ask a few questions tonight, all brought to you by the Chadwick Nuss on our wonderful panel. And the first question is, what direction do you all see for the future of the comic book industry? Ted, what do you think? You go first.
I said it this morning on my show, TED Talks, 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. I think within 5 to 10 years, you're going to see conventions become indie events. They're going to be to the point where Marvel and DC will still be there, but I believe that people are going to start coming to these venues and these shows for people like us, the people that established indie, not just me, I'm talking to all of us, the whole umbrella of people that are indie creators. I think that that's going to be the mainstay. I think that it's going to be an ongoing, evolving thing where Hollywood's more involved with indie creators. I see a complete, if you want to call it revolution, but I think that's going to be a norm. In 10 years, mark my words, you see everything changing to where indie publishing is going to be, oh, okay, when you're bringing your book out, okay, cool. Yeah. It's not even, are you self-publishing or are you traditionally published? Are you hybrid? It won't even matter. It'll be like, okay, when you're bringing your book out, it'll be so streamlined. And I really think that's the way it's going to go for the future. I really, really believe that.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be something similar to, hopefully not as intense, but something similar as far as how mangakas work in Japan.
Yeah.
I think, if you want to make comics, you're making comics. And then if you get, picked up by a big magazine or a big publisher, which I do think DC and Marvel will probably end up slipping into that role of just being a publisher instead of recycling their same characters and stories over and over again. I think they will probably always have their own material, but I think they'll probably start publishing other people's stuff. I think it's going to look more like manga in Japan or how novels are released already in America.
I see that a lot of us, as far as indie creators, I don't think a corporation will be built, but I think that there's going to be a collaboration of different people getting together, different venues with different IPs, different companies, studios, kind of like a Studio Ghibli, but that kind of idea of a collective of smaller groups of people that do this as an umbrella, kind of like Rising Tide does. It'll be like a convention that Rising Tide puts up, and it'll be hundreds of creators that are all independently owned. And that's what I see. And I see that DC and that'll still have their remnants there. I mean, Dark Horse, whatever. But I think that, we're at the beginning. I think that there's some really amazing things that are going to happen in the next 10 years. So,
Damien,
okay,
what about you?
I'll be quiet.
We can all jump in on everybody's opinions. No, Damien.
No, I really gave it some thought, and I think two things. Really, one, before I say this, paper's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
but I think that printing the way comics are done printed now is going to change.
How so?
I own a Kindle. I bought a Kindle just to read comics. I have a Comixology account. I can read whatever they put out. I can buy comics. I don't buy any physical comics anymore unless they're indie comics. They're the only ones I'll buy physical copies of. And there's a couple that when I've gotten PDFs or something, I could transfer it to my Kindle and still read it.
Yeah.
I think that when those things become more commonplace, I think when like e-readers and things like that, which have been around forever, but they've really never found their niche per se. Either you like them or you don't, or they've been meant to replace paper. They're not going to replace paper. You just can't. You can't get the same feel out of a comic in your hand as you can out of your Kindle. But that's why I think that's going to change, because it's easier to create and distribute your comic digitally and cheaper for us to do that than, and cheaper for the reader too, because You buy a digital comic now from one of the big guys, you're paying full price. You're paying full price for the comic. Unless you like Comixology will even offer you like a little discount. You get like 10% off or something, all the comics you buy. It costs me, let's say, $1 to print a comic, or I can charge a $1.50 to offer a digital copy of the same book, regardless of page count. Yeah, you want to stay within that 22 pages to start, and then go from there. Otherwise, you're really ripping people off. But it's there, and I think that when people stop pushing to get rid of paper and treat that as an option, that's when that'll take over a little stronger. The merger between Comixology and Amazon, they're not handling it well. But once I think the dust settles on that, we'll see something a little better as far as digital distribution of comics. Yeah. The other thing is, you think of like mass press. You think about printing now. You'll get a group of people to maybe do a gang print. I think that's going to start being a thing as far as helping each other and building each other's projects up, where a group of people will get together and create, if not a label, then like a group that they can, have people come in, print things, do limited runs of a series. Mm-hmm. I lost my train of thought there. Roll back. Limited series are going to be more prevalent, in my opinion, where it's going to be, issue 1 to 4, you tell an arc. Mm-hmm. And then you give it time to sit, and then you finish, rather than having to constantly churn out material every month. One of the biggest things I hate about mainstream comics is that you can't trust that an artist or a writer is going to be on the road for more than maybe 2-3 issues.
Yeah.
And
that's why I stopped. That's why I stopped, because it's like you get halfway through a story arc and the team changes, and then some of them just throw the previous arc out the window, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Well, that's why I think as an overall concept, limited series is much better. Everything I'm doing, and I'm not saying it just because everything I'm doing is limited series. I was about to say everything I'm doing is limited series. It is, but it's because I want to tell a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then I can pick up after that story and tell another story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And people don't have to buy every issue. They can if they want, but they can buy an arc. And if that's what they like, that's what they want. I have Superboy's a weird example. I followed a particular artist on Superboy, and I have 7 issues and then 3 more issues because they had like the team change there for 2 issues. And that's all the Superboy I have, is I just collected that artist's particular run and those stories.
Yeah.
I think that is something that happens more often than we think. And I think, limited runs, even digitally, we're going to see more of it. That's my point.
Yeah. Jeremy, what about you?
I think that technology has kind of created a level playing field, and the way that plays out, I don't know exactly how that's going to change, but I think things like, so taking what you were talking about, Damien, about digital, well, I know a couple of people on social media that are just making their own animated series, right? We've got Ray Kaufman is doing that, and he's just a guy by himself with a story to tell, and he's just like, nose to the grindstone, is just like banging it out.
Yep.
But he can, because he does it all from an iPad Pro, which is incredible. Like, that means anyone with an iPad Pro and the desire to tell that story can do it. And so, you think about the experience of opening a physical comic, and like how do you replace that? Well, what if you bought that issue off of Comixology, and as a Comixology exclusive, there is a 15-second animated clip that's like an intro, or something that that nobody else gets. If you buy a physical copy, you don't get it. So now you have created a different type of experience, but you can do that because the technology is there. Or, you've made a comic and you want to turn it into like an actual like live action thing. Like again, YouTube is incredible. You can figure out how to do anything that you want to, all the special effects that you want. And, obviously there are still financial things with that. There's gear that you have to buy and stuff like that, but it's definitely not as expensive as it used to be. These two lights behind me I just bought, they're really expensive. They used to be very expensive because of the color. It's some sort of index that is very high. So like its ability to reproduce color is 97% or something like that. 10 years ago, lights with that sort of color CRI index, $2,500. Now these were like $200. So technology is just bringing the cost of everything down. It's making it accessible to people of all financial standings. You can do what you want if you've got that story and you want to tell it. So that's how I think it's going to change. I think we're going to find little ways to create an experience.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that so much so, actually, that I think comic book creators and content creators, whatever that content be, storytelling, whatever, it kind of already is there. But I think it's going to be as common as a customer service worker or, a plumber. Name a trade, name a career that is, you think of it, it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of a common career. I really think content creator is going to be that in many ways. Like I said, it kind of already is. Now, most of us who are there are also working other full-time jobs. Not all of us though. I mean, 2 of us in our panel are already at the place where they're doing this full-time. So I think that's going to continue to become more of a valid, not that it's invalid, but you know what I mean, like more of a common
it'd be more respected.
And more respected. I think because of the Marvel movies, the success of that, a lot of people have now taken an entirely different look at this industry of comics, and it is looked at with a lot more respect than it was when I was in high school. I really think that people are finally looking at. I think we're on our way to similar to how Japan puts out their mangas, how the culture reacts to to manga there. I mean, you'll see on the subway, on the train, you'll see businessmen reading comics. It's a normal thing there. And here we're still, for some reason, in this weird trope that it's for kids. And it's like, no, it's not a kid thing. It can be for sure. But I think that's the track we're on. And I think that it's going to become another common job that's accepted and well respected. And I think technology is why. I think it's opened all the doors. It's kind of shut all the gatekeepers, and they're slowly dying as the years go by, especially with things like Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Chad, what about you?
Yeah, I think obviously there'll be some changes when you think about when comics first came out, and they had spinner racks at the drugstore and stuff like that. That's no longer around. But there's some things that will stay around. I don't think Marvel and DC are going away. I think they're marketing machines, and they're in the business to make money. And I just laugh when I hear so many people complain about Marvel and DC and then turn around and buy their books. It's just like, if you really want them to go away, you have to stop buying their books. And
right.
The reason why they're putting out the type of stories they are is because they sell.
Selling, yeah.
So yeah, like it's just that simple. So like people make it more complex than it is, and they get frustrated because they reinvent Superman, or they reinvent the logo, or they do something, whatever, but it gets them press, which gets them sales. And, at the end of the day, that's how that works.
It's frustrating. The guys that rail online about a comic. They hate it. They yell about them when that comic is turned into a movie, but then they're still there. They go by it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's just insane. Sorry,
And really, the railing against it too. It's kind of
It's
a form
promoting.
of promotion.
Yeah,
it's like-
absolutely. It is. The company,
You know,
DC and Marvel, do not care if you're out there
Exactly.
ragging on them because you're talking about it.
Exactly.
Right.
So like the only way they'll go away is if everyone just ignores them, which that's not going to happen because they're such a machine. They're just constantly putting themselves out there. So they're not going to go away. I think obviously, like you guys have said, indie comics will definitely continue to rise and continue to grow stronger. I think you'll see, like Jeremy was saying, technology will definitely change. Like, for example, I just saw yesterday, I haven't watched it yet, but on Netflix, there is a cartoon that's interactive. And I know they've done this before, but this is like, it looks like the quality of Looney Tunes. Like, it's really high quality. And it's the kind of thing where you get to choose the path the story takes. So I think there are things like that will happen in comics. I think the reading of them will change in the sense that it becomes more interactive. I think there'll be obviously technological shifts. I mean, obviously we've seen digital, and like Damien said, I'm the same way. I like a physical book, but there'll be things like virtual reality will be thrown in there, NFTs, which we'll talk about. There's all different kinds of innovations that will happen, but there's the core of what comic books are won't change in the sense that it is a business, and so you're still going to have that. It may change in the sense like you'll be watching the NFL and then all of a sudden Marvel will have a commercial. We haven't seen that yet, but it's coming. I think that kind of stuff will happen.
Well, the crazy thing is we used to see that kind of stuff back in like, not necessarily on NFL, like, but you know, they had commercials for comics. I remember this when I was a kid. Like, I mean, they had, you know, like I remember, you know, some of the old, like all the cartoons that were tied into toys that were also tied into comics.
Marvel
it was all one big thing.
Yeah. Through Sunbow, they had a hand in making those cartoons. That's why they had those commercials inside like G.I. Joe Transformers.
Sure.
But even then you could see something about Spider-Man or something about that, you know, in other media.
Yeah.
And you would get that crossover effect.
Right. For sure. I mean, and I remember like even like some of the VHS, like the commercials that they would have before the movie, like there were comics that tied into video games and all this other stuff as well. So like they've just kind of gotten away from doing that. I feel like they got away from doing that in the late 90s. And then in the early 2000s, it was just not, they didn't do that stuff anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really. Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick that the people that did do it was Image Comics, because you had Rob Liefeld on a Levi commercial. You know,
that's it.
Yeah, because they had the momentum. That's a good point. You know,
that is a good point. Yeah. So no, I think that's you know, that's really valid, Chad. I've said it before already, but I'm just going to shout out, like, I really do think culturally we're headed to a very familiar relationship with comics that Japan has with manga, but I do think that it's gonna just become like another normal job to have, is you know customer service, restaurant worker, content creator, and comic book creator is under that. You know, I really do think that and it's so easy to do it on your own now. You don't have to wait, and you've got websites like Webtoon that's free. You know, like if you just really if you have a story to tell and you just want to get out there and let people see it and let people read it for free. You know, now we've got stuff like Patreon where you can get supported, you know, by your fans directly. I mean, these are things that are just changing the game completely. And I just see it going more and more in that direction in the next 10 years. Let's jump back into the comments section really, really fast, because people are just showing up like crazy. It's so much fun. Yeah, so Ryan Permission says, oh, whoops. Yeah. Sorry about that. He says, I want to see Memoirs of an Angel animated series on Netflix tomorrow, and I haven't even read it yet. Well, thank you for your confidence. I appreciate that. Read it first, though, before you go saying things like that.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Jeremy, yeah,
so
Jeremy
you might really like be disappointed.
Hardly.
No, I'm just kidding. It's awesome. It is really amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Rick Bradley says, I can definitely see consumers getting tired of the same old, same. Some of the big publishers do it due to play it safe. People are going to want something fresh and new for sure. And Eric Hawkins says, if DC and Superman go away, what will Brian K. Morris read? Oh no, it is a sad, tragic thing if that happens. Ted Davies feels exactly the same way that I do.
Yep.
Chab. Jeremy, Ryan says, congratulations on your site and services helping others. He may have to contact you in the future. Ryan, I absolutely encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I do too.
He's excellent at what he does. And Jeremy, you and I have to get together here pretty soon as well for the nebulizer number 2. Brian says, put a cape on monkey meat, Eric, and I'll have to start buying medicines. Ryan Permisson says, a rising tide lifts all ships. Facts. That is very, very true. Rick Bradley says, yeah, I remember when I was a bit miffed when comics went up to $1.25, and this Thursday I'm buying the new Ghost Rider #1 for $5.99. Oh, yes. Said I started. Brian says I started buying comics when they were a dime. Get the hell off my lawn.
Wow.
Oh, you're so old, Brian. Rick Bradley says, but dang it, I really like Ghost Rider, and I think Johnny Blaze is back. Well, then you know, if he's back, you got to buy the comic. And he then goes on and says, stomps on lawn while sticking my tongue out with the one finger salute. And then BKM says, turns on the sprinkler and laughs. Rick Bradley says, puts on bikini, giggling maniacally. This is an interesting story that we have here. Eric Hawkins says, I remember G.I. Joe comic commercials. Yes, I was going to say, I remember it being, I think Transformers did too, if I remember correctly. Yeah. BKM says, agreed, Eric. I recall some ads for the New 52 on some of the cable networks too. Yeah. As sad as the New 52 was for most of us, they did actually try to put out some commercials. So, catch my breath. So the next question that we have, Ted, I'm going to direct it at you first. Yep. Again. So how do you think, or what can comic book creators or creatives do to prepare for the future of the industry that you just talked about?
Okay, and you're talking about independent creators, people are putting out their own content.
Yeah.
Branding. Get your stuff in front of as many people as possible so that they can see what you're doing. Branding is so important. Get the platform together so that when you release this product that you're putting out, whatever it is, this book, this artwork, whatever it is, this interactive comicsology, whatever, anything PDF wise, you have the platform, it's built, and immediately it's a success. I can't say it enough. Branding is super important for anything that you're doing.
So when you say branding, walk us through that for somebody that doesn't really know what that means.
Okay. Ted Davies Artistry is an example. Okay, so, you know, me without the fedora or whatever, I'm just Ted Davies. Ted Davies Artistry is what I produce. It's the media umbrella that I use for all my work. And it's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's building a collective. Anybody that knows me, you guys know me, how I promote others. That's the idea behind Ted Davies Artistry. And in return, it promotes me. I mean, that's a pretty simple, we all do it. And that's why we're part of Rising Tide. But branding is so important as far as so that it's an identity of what people realize. They don't even, it's subconscious eventually. Oh, well, Ted's got another product out. Great. We love the last 6 books, whatever. Let's go back into it. It's a client based. It's not it's not to where you're fooling people or trying to get one on people. It's a client continuating customer relationship. That's what branding is. It's like Nike. How many of us own Nike shoes over the years? We all know what the swoosh looks like, right? All of us. We could draw it in our sleep. It's the same idea. The Ford oval, everybody knows that. Branding is so important. It's not just the visual side of it, but it's actually the emotional connection of what you are doing, what you're saying, and people will either enjoy the platform or not, but you need to do that in order to get your base together. I really firmly believe that you have to get a platform together and get your branding situated. Hopefully I explained it.
Yeah, no, I think you explained it really well. So just kind of opening up to everybody else, Jeremy, what do you think?
Learn more technology.
Very true.
Yeah.
If you're the guy that does inks and pencils, that's awesome. Get a tablet. At least start. Don't get to the point where it's I've lost everything.
Right. Yeah.
And unless I figure this out right now,
I have to brag on Chad. He is still doing pencil and ink, but also is working on a tablet as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
He finally broke down and decided to get into the new century, which
awesome.
I'm very, very thankful for. Ted, you also do a blend of both, don't you?
I do, yeah. I've got, but I'm not showing you anything I've got on the Cintiq yet. But it's amazing. The thing, if I can interject, one of the things I know drives Rodman nuts about Chad is Chad's a phenom. He's a phenom because the watercolor work that he's done on the tablet the last few months ago, that what he was trying to work with the plant or the flower, that was absolutely amazing. It was like watching somebody go to a piano and start playing Chopin. I mean, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and without having any prior talent or prior practice or anything on the piano.
Prior talent.
You're amazing, right. And I know it drives Rodman crazy. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I
love that it drives him crazy.
I'm applauding you in the background because
I love how much he hates this right now. This makes me feel so good.
Drive him nuts. But no, but it is. It's amazing. So I'm not going to show any of my Cintiq stuff for a while. But
that's on your.
You guys have taught me a lot too. But
this was a terrible.
Thank you, Ted. I love you.
Terrible day.
I mean, and it's the truth, man. Don't get all mushy. It's true.
It was so gross. Oh my goodness. So finally, ringing that. Just that, yeah.
Stop bringing that sponge. Right.
I like threw up in my soul. So Damien, or Jeremy, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Were you? Did you have more to say? Because I liked the direction you were going. Just like
learn more
smarter.
technology. Yeah, be better at stuff.
Just be best.
I think the truth of it.
Artists get into their rut. They're the guy that does the thing.
Yeah,
this specific way, and you can't do that because you're isolating yourself from a potential audience when you do that. And we're talking about content creation being ubiquitous with customer service rep. Now that means more than ever, you don't have Marvel as the machine behind you, and now there's 100 times more indie people or 1,000 times more. You can't just be the guy that draws comic books and doesn't know how to do anything else with it. It's just time to grow up and learn more stuff. That's all.
And honestly, to piggyback off of the comment you just made about it becoming so
ubiquitous.
Yes, thank you.
That's a big word.
That's a rich word, and I did not learn that.
I'm impressed.
I did not learn that in Dr. Seuss today. No, I would say with it becoming so common and easily found, I think we're going to stop seeing the glamour of being a comic creator. I think we're going to see that go away as well. Not 100%, Like, but I think you're always going to have the 1%ers. We're in the entertainment business, so there's always going to be that. You're always going to have fans that adore what you do and that's great. But I think you're going to see less of the Todd McFarlane's, Mike Mignola's. I think you're going to see more of the blue collar creators who, can maybe support themselves by their work and what they do, but at the same time, they have 1,000 readers instead of tens of thousands of readers, and I think we're going to see that finally becoming a good thing. I don't think that it's needed to have tens of thousands of readers to be successful, to enjoy what you're doing, and I would actually argue that I think it's better to have less.
I agree,
because you can I think you can engage with your readership more. I think that you can have the opportunity to actually form a group of people that is an actual community, not just says that it's a community, but is an actual group of people that interact. I think we're starting to see the beginning of that with different people having their own Facebook groups that are about their work and things like that. And I think I can just think of a few artists right off the top of my head that are not in the 1%, but that have, a couple thousand followers that are actively interactive on their Facebook page. And it's their own little, this is their own little world, their own little club. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that with more of the blue collar level creators. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. And I would say this, like, if you're an up and coming creator, and your dream is to be the next Mike Mignola, the next Todd McFarlane, more than likely that's not going to happen. And that's not a bad thing. Get that out of your head. It's not a bad thing to not be famous. It's actually, I mean, you talk to a ton of famous people. They hate being famous. They may like it to boost their egos, but they hate their lives. And who wants to live like that? So for me, I am totally cool and content with a smaller group of readers that I can actually interact with myself and see them enjoying my work, as opposed to just being numbers on a sheet that I know people are buying my stuff, but I don't really know who they are. And I think that's a bit of the future that we're headed towards.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got 1,000 sold out followers,
right,
and you convince them to spend $100 a year,
yeah,
you're already making more money than any of us.
Exactly, right? And that's the way to. That's exactly how I think. And I think that YouTube, you guys deserve to have tens of thousands of subscribers, which you guys should be subscribing if you haven't to yet. It is. I see so many with tens of thousands of followers, and they have 100 views. They have 200 views tops, maybe. And I would rather have a consistent number, say 50 to 100 on every video I've got across different platforms, whatever. And those people are loyal, and they're telling everybody about what they enjoy about you, and they're interacting with. Absolutely, man. That's totally the way to do it. The Clubhouse effect, absolutely.
And I think the way that to as a creator, to prepare for that type of future, get your mindset in a different way. Don't, and I'm not saying don't shoot for the stars, don't follow your dreams. Don't hear that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is care more about the story and the people who are reading your story than the number of people reading your story. Because that is where the difference is. If you're doing that, your story means something. Care about that more than you care about anything else. And I think that, and that takes some work. I posted this, I think a couple days ago. My parents had the only copy living of the short story of Memoirs of an Angel when it first came out in 2012. Black and white. None of the characters look the same as they do now. It was terrible. I had no clue what I was doing. But
too hard on yourself.
But my the guy that put everything together, he's been on the show before, Nathan Thomas Milner, great guy. I was
to be back.
yeah, I've been thinking about him coming back soon, and I think we got him for here in a little bit, but I was very blessed to have him really just kind of lay it all out on the line for me when I was brand spanking new, getting into the industry, had no idea what to expect. I mean, in my head, I was like, man, I'm going to put this one issue out and I'm going to be published through Image Comics next week. Like it was just so unrealistic because I had no clue what to expect. And he sat me down. We went to the mall one day and we walked around and just chatted and talked about the comic industry. And he said, the biggest thing that he let me in on was he said, if you're in this to make money, you are going to be bitter and angry. He said, if you're in this because you love storytelling and you want your story to be read and you care about people reading your story, that's the only thing that's going to get you through this industry. And that's the mindset you have to have as an indie creator, or you're just going to be mad all the time. You're just going to be bitter. And trust me, I am friends with indie creators who are bitter. They're bitter, angry people, and they're cynical. And it's because their mindset is not where it needs to be. And it's not their fault. That's what they went into this expecting. And it didn't happen. And it's still not happening. So they're angry. But if you can care more about your story and the people reading it, that's the key.
Damien.
First of all, I want to know where this glamour is, because when I'm sitting in my underwear at 3 a.m., drawing in the dark, drinking cold coffee out of a cup, trying to figure out how I'm going to get this issue done in time to get to the printer.
Panic drawing.
I have nothing to really add to anything you all have said, because it's right. I think there's two steps before any of it. One, why comics? Because like you said, comics is a very specific medium. And while you can tell any story with any level of special effect you want, depending on the artist you have, why comics? Because there are easier methods. There are as hard methods that are other than comics. You have to know whether comics is the medium that you want to tell the story in. Because if you don't, then you might be spinning your wheels for years trying to achieve something and not getting out of it what you even want, much less what anyone else is interested in, because you're telling it in the wrong medium. Now, I'm a firm believer in always comics, so that's just me. Every idea I have, I think, is a comic. And immediately it out. The other thing is mental health. Mental health. Mental health. I have kept myself in the comics closet for decades because I didn't think I was good enough. I compared myself to every other artist I ran across. And this is up to, like, I would even say the last 5 years. It's been the last 5 to 6 years that I've really been like, I'm going to do my thing. I don't care, if anybody even reads it. I want this done. I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. I want to make this for me as much, for me and my wife and my son and my family. And if people like it, great. If they don't, at least I'll have something really cool for them to remember me by. Yeah. And when I achieved that mental state, it became so much easier to produce, even in the face of some real crazy hardship that hit my life. I still drew and I still created and I still made things. I still felt that drive because I realized that I was good enough. I was a good enough artist. I was a good enough creator. I was good enough to make this thing because it's mine. I want to make it for me. And I've noticed that people like it and that people want to see more. And I'm happy for that. And please do. If you can buy my books, please buy my books. Buy my books. These guys, whatever, buy my books. Buy Ted's books because I work with Ted. I like Ted. but it's the mental health aspect has to be there, because you will become your own worst enemy. And like you were saying, Brian, people that are become bitter and just sick inside from not making that money, not being Jim Lee, not being Mike Mignola, not being whoever they idolized when they were reading comics and enjoying them. Mm-hmm. And you can, as a creator, you can have that same enjoyment you had going to the store and picking up that book for the first time and really getting into it and loving this medium. You can have that same love and put that into your creativity, into your book, into what you're making, and potentially give that to other people. Mm-hmm. That's the best part to me of making comics. But you just have to know where your head's at, stay, emotionally aware, and then jump in with 2 feet if that's where you feel like you need to go.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, I would say find a good group of people that are in the same place or are a few steps ahead of you, who can encourage you along the way. Because what Damien, boys and girls, what Damien was describing is imposter syndrome, which we've talked about on the show. We've talked about on the Rising Tide Network multiple times. If you're struggling with that, we encourage you, go, search the backlog of the Dingoes, find the clip, and we've got a couple episodes dedicated to it and some really good, thoughtful. I know there was an episode where we had Brian K. Morris and Christian Basil on. That was probably one of the best episodes I've ever been a part of, period, but specifically regarding imposter syndrome. And some really wise words were said, not by me, in that episode. But get involved with a group of people who you trust, you like, who are encouraging, who aren't just a bunch of negative Nancys, that can come alongside you and tell you, hey, no, you where you're at, what there's always room for growth, no matter where you're at as an artist. But if you never start putting stuff out, you're never going to get better.
Yep.
So, I think it was Monday on the show, somebody had told Mike Jimmy, Lorsha de Bruin that his artwork wasn't very good and he should, wait a while until he that's bull crap. Like, first of all, his artwork's great. I enjoy his art. But secondly, if you looked at issue 1 of Memoirs of an Angel versus what I'm producing now, it's very different. And it's because I've just been doing it every day for the last 6 or 7 years, drawing the same characters, doing the same stuff. And I got better at it. And, you're going to go through those bumps. You're going to go through those times where you just feel like you suck. Make sure you have a good group of people to come alongside you to remind you don't suck. Because you'll get in your head and you'll stay there and everything will suck because you don't have any other voice coming to you saying that you're wrong.
Yep.
So, Chad, 100%. What do you think?
I'm with Eric Hawkins, and then I just got into comics for the hookers and blow. It's really
sweet. How's that working out for you?
So far,
are they all in your basement right now?
Doing all right, yeah. No, in all seriousness, I actually wrote this question because I want to hear from you guys because I haven't really figured it out. I'm still trying to learn, and I absolutely agree with what's been said, and especially with Ted talking about branding, that's huge. There's so much that goes into that because it really is a lot more about relationships and people, and branding really helps that, it clarifies, I know Ted because he has Ted Davies Artistry. It's very easy to make that connection, And I agree with Jeremy as well. I think, expanding your horizons, trying new things, that's what I'm trying to do is just different avenues of creativity to just stretch myself and those kind of things. And that leads to, doing new things in comics, which innovation is always, I think is always a good thing for the most part. And will get you noticed, I think, at some point. But like we said, at the end of the day, it's not about fame and fortune, although, those things could be nice. It's about storytelling. And if you're an indie creator, you want to tell stories regardless of the results. But as far as like preparing for the future of the industry, I mean, I think it's just a matter of looking at trying not I know we can't like accurately predict where it's going, but you can kind of see the influence. And so getting involved in different areas of technology is really helpful, because I think that's really the direction it's going to go in. So I don't have much to add other than that. I think what you guys have said, it was really, really well put.
All right, cool. Well, people in the comments have something to add. Rick says, I think the indie creators can't get comfortable, keep wanting to go further or farther, and don't become complacent with how things are, because that's how you get in the same boring comic book stories that we have now. Absolutely. Always push yourself creatively. Brian K. Morris says, I want to see indie creators stop imitating the big two as much as they do, and do more outside the box creativity. I could not echo that more. Get away from DC and Marvel's way of doing things. Like, and I'm not going to say that they were
the comic book upside down out of the box.
The whole thing. Honestly, I love books that are different sizes. I'm talking like Frank Miller's 300.
Absolutely.
It's like a children's book size, and I love that. I think that's super cool. It really helps you appreciate the art. It helps you spend more time. The pages are so much larger. You can really approach the artwork as how it's meant to be in a comic. It's an art piece that tells a story, and I really enjoy it when books do that. So yeah, I agree with Brian so much. Nothing wrong with a standard size comic. Nothing wrong with nothing wrong with how DC and Marvel have done things. My goodness, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. I mean, as much as we crap on them, they got us to this point. They inspired us. They paved the way in many, many ways. But it is time to break to try something new. And I think we're the people to do it. Do what?
We've got that luxury. Let's use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think, can I say one thing real quick?
No.
Oh, gosh, I guess.
Go ahead, Chad. I give you permission. Roll
Thanks,
on, brother.
Chad, I appreciate that. I think, and I think Brian definitely realizes this, like Brian K. Morris, because, there's something to be said about imitation as far as learning from people that are successful, or like heroes that you have. Like, when I was when I started in comics, like I love the Image guys and really like copied their style and like really learned a lot from them. But there is a point at which you have to tell your own story, and you have to divorce yourself from that. Otherwise, you get in that same rut that we've already been talking about. And it's a difficult balance. It's a very fine line to figure out where that is, I think. So.
Yeah. I think that was a mediocre addition to what you were saying.
You're welcome.
Carl Whitson says, I interact with my readers of the Munzie book all the time. It's very neat to see a German guy praising it on Facebook. Yeah, those moments are super cool. When you realize that you have reached an international status, even if it's just one person, that's cool.
It's pretty, yeah.
That's a pretty. Yes. I remember the first time somebody bought my book. They were in Ireland, and I was like, "This is awesome."
That's so cool. Right?
It was such a cool feeling. I love those moments. And Sarah's here. Hey,
up,
lady friend, how you doing? Everyone is echoing that, saying, "Yo, Sarah" from Brian K. Morris.
Sarah, Carl, Annette.
Oh, wow, some old school Mickey Mouse Club right
I'm
there.
old. What do you want?
And Rick Bradley says, I know my goal with this whole author thing is to be able to make that Stephen King money, which I joke about that a lot. I just want to live comfortably and have something my kids can be proud of, and that's a great goal. I mean, and I would add this. I know we've mentioned this before, but I keep in mind, I like thinking of not just the readers that I'm that I'm creating for now, but 10, 20, 30 years from now.
That's
people
exactly
that read my stuff. Yeah, people that read my stuff when I'm dead. Right? Yeah. Like I won't be here, but this might, and this story might be able to inspire somebody else to keep this thing going.
Absolutely.
Did I ever tell
I
you the
think
story of my first
Damien has a question.
Yes.
tell you the story?
The young
Thank you,
man in the
Jeremy.
front row.
I do a comic book that's pretty male centric, I think, and I thought in its methodology and story. My first fan was a 17-year-old girl.
Hey,
She
man.
had
Yeah.
bought my book at the con previous. It was Lexington actually, and I did the con the next year, and I didn't have a new book because I had some life stuff going on. But I brought more of the book and other stuff. And she came and she went to buy the next. She went what she thought was the next issue, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you'd have a new book. I'm really sad." I was like, she looked sad, and I'm like, I had a fan.
You had a fan.
I refuse to go to any con now with at least something new in a book, in a comic. And I gave her one of everything on the table because I felt so bad. You have whatever you want. Liking my comic. And then I got on medication. And no. I did.
Oh my God.
But that's my friend. But I'm sorry, Alexa decided to jump in the conversation.
She had things to say.
She went searching. But yeah, I mean, you never know who's going to read your book. You just never know.
For sure. And that's what you got to keep in mind is, there's as long as there's like one person out there one day that might be that it might make a difference in their life, that's worth it. And I know it sounds cheesy and it sounds cliche, but it is true. Like that for me, that's what makes doing this worth it.
I think that the old, and I know you guys understand this probably better than I do, but you're never a prophet in your own hometown. You know what I mean by that? And it's something to where I look at it, I think that you're obligated to think about those people 20 years from now that are maybe not having a great Sunday night and they don't want to go to work. And they're reading a story that somebody wrote that inspires them to get off their tush and start writing something that they've had so that they propel themselves into something new in their lives. So even long after we're gone, look at Shakespeare. Look what he accomplished. And people are still talking about the stories that he wrote, whoever it was that wrote them.
I like to go. Yeah, right. I like to go to like Edgar Allan Poe and
Charles Dickens.
H.P. Lovecraft.
But
like the H.P. Lovecraft and not Charles Dickens, the Edgar Allan Poes. They were people that wrote and were passionate about what they wrote and did not see what their work became.
Correct.
And that for me is inspiring. Like even to a point, to a certain point, Tolkien did not see what his work has the amazing, crazy levels of success that Middle Earth has reached.
It's a movement. It's a pop culture phenomenon.
Right. And so
you can't even
who
fathom,
knows, who knows what, my goodness, who knows 100 years from now, Grimm 101 could become the next, huge hit that inspires thousands, and you'll never see it. But if you do it,
thanks.
No, I'm saying no. What I'm saying is, I mean, you might.
This is what I put up with all the time.
Look,
I'm gonna cut my ear off right now. I'm gonna start painting with a bunch of crazy colors.
I hope you see it, but what I mean
Van
is,
Gogh it.
What I mean is, those are the people that you're writing for.
Yeah.
And that's what, to me, that's the reward, is what these stories will become one day. And who they are to the people, to the few people who are reading them now. Anyway, Sarah is loving Brian K. Morris right now, and Rick Bradley says, and to share my weird mind with the world and bring entertainment to people. That's always sharing our weird minds. If you don't have a weird mind, get out of this business.
Right.
Carl Witzman says, bitter and cynical, is Brian Robin talking about me? No, sir, you're a kind, gentle soul.
Read his comment about me.
Sarah's laughing right now at you, Damien. And Donna's saying hello, and Sarah's saying hello, and then Sarah is absolutely agreeing with you, Damien. Mental health is huge. And of course, there's Eric Hawkins with his hookers and blow. And Brian K. Morris is bitter, angry, and cynical. I feel targeted. What's up with all the older folks in here? Feeling like I'm targeting them. I'm not thinking about either one of you guys. Sarah says, I'm surrounded by comics right now and loving it. Still a chunk to sort through. Reading comics is amazing for my mental health. Cool about creating them too. Yeah, I in all seriousness, it is a great escape. Stories do some amazing things for people. And now she's laughing at Brian harshly. Jay Selly is in the house now. And John Celestri, sir, hello, we salute you. Indie creators can't just do something. We don't know.
They can't just do.
They can't just do.
You don't get that? You don't understand it, Brian? What's wrong with you?
I guess not. They got him. They took him away before he could finish the sentence.
Maybe it just means like
they can't just go out and do it.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what?
They have to be tortured over it, and yeah,
right. Carl says, "Me too, Brian," and Brian is now laughing at Carl. Sarah says, "A lot of mental health discussions have been and are so very important." You're absolutely true. Here we go. Indie creators have to think of themselves as artists, writers, creating unique works. The money's not there as a money-making career. It used to be, but not today. And you know what? That may change, and I think it will. I mean, I see a lot of independent creators that are actually breaking that mold that are making, maybe they're not making the big bucks, right? Like I said earlier, like they're not the Todd McFarlanes, they're not the Mike Mignolas, but they're able to make a living.
Well, I mean, and what do you need? What do you need to live on? You know, there's a lot of people that you could live very simply and do some amazing things with minimal amounts of effort, really, with money. And there's a lot of ways to do it. I've seen people that have 6-figure incomes that are lousy with money, absolutely crappy with money. And then I've seen people that can build, a home business that, $50,000 a year is all the money that they ever are going to need. That's generational wealth for them. It really just depends on what your mindset is. But I tend to disagree, though. I think diversification is the key. Merchandise, drawing, books. There's all different kinds of ways to make money in this thing.
Toys,
all different kinds of ways.
Toys,
yes, toys.
That's
it right there.
See what I did there?
Oh, toys.
Yeah,
cool.
Toys. Mine moves. See, mine move.
Oh,
this is brand new. This hasn't been released yet. This is actually coming out soon. So
that's sexy.
And mine's bigger than yours. Sorry, Brian.
They're nice.
Okay.
That's okay. Sure.
Good one, Ted. Good one, Ted.
All right. Brian K. Morris says, "I pledged to Life on Korra by Mike Jimmy today. If he could draw even half that well, he'd be a one-man show making comics." Mike is awesome at what he does. I'm excited to get the story. If you haven't actually signed up for it, head there today. It's on Indiegogo, right, Ted?
It's good.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. And check out what he's doing on Facebook too. He's got a very good, his presence there is great. Really check out his artwork. I think the guy that whoever made that comment was dead wrong. Says a lot more about the critiquer than it does the critique. So I mean, check out what Mike's doing. Definitely.
Yeah. And Carl says farting cats will cure whatever ails you. And I mean, I have one back here who just perched up and said, "I did not fart, you rude man." Carl says Damien had a fan and he made her cry. Yeah. Way to go, Damien.
He's not nice to me.
Sarah says, one thing I don't get is why physical therapy is seen differently than mental therapy. The brain is a physical organ also. Make that clear when it comes to being stigmatized. Comics help a lot. We are holistic beings, right? So like the mind is a part of the body. We really got to get through that through our culture's head. And Glenn Fleming says, "Profit in your own town. I'm a legend in my own living room." Allegedly. Also, hello, Glenn. Donna says, "That's like when an elderly friend wanted to buy my book, The Seduction of Lily Monroe. I warned her that it was graphic. She just grinned and slid the money across the table to me." That's funny. Oh goodness! And Sarah loves seeing you on the panel, Ted.
Oh, good.
We do too.
Thank you.
And Donna, that is hilarious. And Sarah, I absolutely agree. Normal is super overrated.
What is normal?
Right. The status quo. And Rick Bradley says stories are great escapes. I know Spider-Man saved my life every month, and there actually has been many times in my life where it was a time in my life where I was super depressed, a solid 6 months where I would literally go to work, I would come home, I would read Harry Potter, and Harry Potter kind of saved my life during that time. And I know it's not a comic, but that's the power of stories. It helps you escape, but it also helps you heal. It helps you be able to experience somebody else's, even a fictional character. You can relate to them and learn lessons about yourself through their fictional story. Sarah says, I'm so glad Spider-Man has been so positive and helpful for you. Me too. And Rick says, thank you. And then he says, did anyone else think of yogurt from Spaceballs when Ted said merchandise?
I'm telling you, merchandise. May the Schwartz be with you. Yeah, I love that guy. That's the best.
Man.
That's the best.
Carl Witzman says, poor Damien, sorry. And then we have the Queen's assistant has now showed up.
Fine,
so
that's you know.
Oh man. All right. So Ted, we're gonna switch it up just a little bit to kind of an interview mode. And this will probably be the last question we can get to this week. So I kind of want to focus on you for just a minute. What role tell us about like your ventures in other areas of creativity, right? So like you've done more than just comics, you've done more than you've done kind of everything really. So how did you get involved in these areas?
In comics directly, I was,
or just all of your creative venues. So like you have ventures outside of comics as well. So like you're doing stuff, with Hollywood, you're doing stuff with in prose, you're making toys. Like how did you go about doing all those things?
The first thing is that the voice in my head wasn't as loud as the voice in my heart. That's the first thing. I started really, this has been, I'm 51 and coming up in April. So this has been an ongoing thing for 25 years in my head. You got to seize the moment. And I've been telling people that I lost my mother when I was young. My dad lived a very long life in that, but I want people to seize that whatever idea you've got, it's not, oh, I can't do it. It's how can I do it? Life happens for me, not to me. That's a huge mantra of mine. So when architecture, when I started seeing houses being built that I drew, that was it. I knew that I could accomplish just about anything I put my mind to, because now I've got a structure that I can show my kids. Hey, I worked on that house. Hey, I worked on that house. Why can't I do that in a smaller venue? People were buying my artwork over the years. I knew that I could produce things. And why limit yourself? I have no, I've seen George Lucas do it with Kenner, with all the things that he did back in Star Wars. I've seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all the things that they did from the dining room table to motion pictures. There was no reason that I couldn't do it. And you know what? Call me arrogant or whatever, but that's the way I was raised. My mother was always one. My dad was always one. You can do this, except you can't be an artist. Don't do that. You're never going to make any money being an artist.
Yeah.
Even though he did it for 40 years. You're going to be broke, but but there's a balance. I mean, that's just it. You got to pay the bills too. I understand that, but you have to. I really, as I started looking at the stock markets, when I started learning about that in my 20s and really sitting down and moving money around, I thought to myself, well, it's the same thing when I'm doing this. When I was in architecture, it wasn't just building houses. I mean, I did a lot of interior work. I got into carpentry. There was always something going. And I think that that's really important. You can take those little tiny things throughout your career and use them and implement. You build dreams for people every day, for other people in jobs. You do it every day for your boss, for the company ownership, everything. Learn a few things. Take some things with you. I'm not saying staplers and stuff. I'm talking take things that mentally you can take and learn from what people are doing. Well, yeah, my stapler.
I was promised a piece of cake.
But you know what I mean, though, right? You guys do that. I know that you look at it from a standpoint of, man, I mean, I could implement that in my business. I could do that. I could make money. Ted's doing it. How did that happen? How did he? But it's a lot of and I go back to foundations. Architecture is all about foundation. It's what you're building on. It's the same in business. When Ted Davies Artistry wasn't always Ted Davies Artistry. It was just Ted, you pay Ted to draw a picture for you or a mural for your bedroom or whatever. That's how it started. But going out to Hollywood and that, it was years. I mean, before I even produced the book for Retrieve, it took me years to get that point of pitching other directors and sending in synopsises out to people and agents and all this other. It took 6 years before anybody even got back with me. So I mean, you've got to start building it. And talk about depressed. I mean, I knew I had an idea that was going to sell, but man, and like you, I would go back and I would do more. I'll tell you what, my search engines on Google. People would have thought I was a Nazi or God knows what, because everything that evolves around and Retrieve is based around the Holocaust and that. And I'm like, no. Yeah. I mean, I went through some really, really dark spaces on the internet learning about these monsters, But I really think that when it all boils down to it, you got to start listening to the good voice. You got to start saying and work on that inspiration motive that you get. If you get that one idea that you forget about 30 minutes later and you've lost it, that's where it starts. That's where you start making mistakes. You've got to go with that inspiration. Mm-hmm. You've got to write it down, even if it's nuts, if you think it's crazy. And don't listen to the people that aren't paying your bills. If they're paying your bills, fine. But if they're not paying your bills, do something for you. Do something for your family. Do something that, like you're saying, the kids are going to be proud of. But diversification, really, I learned throughout architecture. I think that's a big, big thing. Sky's the limit. I used to design with clients. I would always go for the gusto. I would always over design it. Mm-hmm. And then it would blow their budget, and that would be cool. And then we'd bring it back down to where they need to be. Well, that's the same way I do business. I'll shoot for the moon. And if it doesn't come back quickly, then I know, okay, all right, that we need to recalibrate, and then this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be patient.
Skill to develop is the ability to have that dream, but then figure out well, if this blows up,
what's plan B?
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I don't mean it I don't mean it. Failure is not an option, because you're always learning. Even with the failures, I can't say that enough. Mm-hmm. I've had more failures than successes, and the only reason why I'm successful is because I took the chances on the failures. That's it. Huge failures, like major things, like major money failures. That when you look back on it, it was devastating. But when you go back and you look at it, you know what? Oh, okay, I get it now. I understand why that happened. Now, okay, now we can go in this direction. And it really, I don't think there's any accidents. I really think that there is a path that we're supposed to be on, and I think that helps, But I don't know if I answered that or not. But you got to diversify. You've got to figure out your plan and shoot for the moon. Don't listen to anybody that you wouldn't want to take advice from.
And from what I keep hearing from you is also. There's no such thing as a self-made person.
That was the other thing. There is never, any of us are not self-made. I don't care who you are. Jeff Bezos especially. Mm-hmm. Tesla, whatever, Musk. None of them are. Nobody is self-made. If COVID didn't teach us anything, it's that we're all connected, all of us. Yeah. So and it's just you've got that voice, and everybody's got it, the one that tears you down. But you've also got another voice that maybe when you're listening to music, it changes a little bit, and you're doing some air guitar, and you're jamming, and you're back to where you need, you know what I mean? And you're back to where you need to be.
Yeah.
that's the voice you got to start listening to. That's what you've got to really, and out of all of it, you've got to help other people when you're doing it. If you don't do that, then it's not going to work. You have to bring other people with you. And I'm not saying, oh, you can, pick up my lunch for me and get me a cup of coffee. I'm not talking about that. You got to promote people, show their books on air, tell them they're doing a good job where they are doing a good job. If they're not, then maybe you pull them aside and say, be nice about it, but not like what the guy.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
The guy that said it on air with Mike, that wasn't the format to say anything to it, and that type of direction. That's not direction. That's derogatory, But really, just all I can say about it is just listen to that the good sounds. You know what I mean? Listen to the good voice because it does help. It does help.
Yeah. That's a good final word. Chad, did you have anything to add?
Well, no, I did actually. The two things I was going to say is like when you're talking about the Mike Jimmy situation, I think it's, when people give critique and advice and stuff, it really comes off the wrong way, especially if they're not asking for it. Like it just blows me away. So many people, I've gotten it a lot of times where someone will
me too.
say, you should have done this. I'm like,
I'll give you the list. I'll give you the list after.
Yeah, it's like you have no idea what I was trying to do with it. Either way. So my question to you, Ted, real quick, just to conclude is, for example, when you're talking about the Hollywood stuff and like getting into movies and other areas and things like that, what is the practical step you took to do that? Like, so for example, like when you're talking about Grimm 101 and Retrieve being optioned and those kind of things, like how did you even get in contact with people like that? Is that like you Google them or you just knew them or
well, you find out like for instance, and this is not who I signed with, Troy Duffy, Boondock Saints. I'm a big, and I know Rodman knows, I'm a huge Boondock Saints, and I like the way that he shoots the movies. I make notes. I go on what is it? IMDb or whatever. I go on and I go in and I check out who's done the movies, who does the writing. Rodriguez, all these people. I go through everything because I'm a big movie nut. And I really try to find the people that maybe you don't know about because they might give you a shot, not the big time people. I still go for them. I still would email them, text them. But I would contact social media. I would go through Instagrams and I would make a comment on oh, cool. They would show like how they shot something on Instagram, how they made this movie, and I'd make a comment, legitimate. You have to do it with integrity. You got to do it with compassion. Not, I'm just saying this so I can get somewhere with you. It's not like that.
Hello, Mr. Hollywood. I really,
exactly, right? Or hey, I got and that's the other thing too. I talked about this morning. You're not going to be pitching. This isn't a pitch thing. You don't say, hey, I got a great idea. Craig and I, after we really started talking. He knew about the idea about 6 years ago, and I've known Craig for a while, and I knew that it just wasn't time, and the timing was a big thing. Timing's a huge thing. This was right before COVID, it was right like when COVID was happening. People were looking for something. Timing is everything when it comes down to it. But you've got to build, and like I said with branding, you've also got to build networking skills. Dale Carnegie. How to win friends and influence people is paramount. I can't say it enough. But it's not to get one over on somebody. It's just to break the ice, to get to the point where you've got a relationship. And that's what I did. I mean, I've got people that I know in the music industry over the years that haven't made records in decades, and I know them, and I've met them online, and I've talked to them. Hey, I went to this concert. Awesome. Hey, and I still have this shirt, and I sent this picture with a signature, and that's how you build these rapports. And that's with Craig. We ended up having just struck a chord. He understood the idea, but the problem was I didn't have a publication. I didn't have it written. Everything was a synopsis. It wasn't a book. That's why I chose comic books, because I knew 20 minutes you could get the story down. It might be a cave painting, but the idea would be a sound idea. You know what I mean? That's how it all started. So you've got to get it to the point where it's published. You got to get it, because they won't look at anything that's not published, whoever it is. And I went through I went through 8 lawyers, book attorneys that actually go through copyright law. I called all over the place. I did a lot of work on that. I went through, I've had vanity companies call me, to publish because they got the idea, the synopsis off my website or something. And it was there. I ended up trying to get, I didn't do Retrieve on Kickstarter years ago. It was another book a long, long time ago. But it was got the ball rolling. I started meeting people, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. When you put it out there and you're trying to get things going, what do they say about idle hands, right? It's the opposite of that. You end up producing, you'll start meeting people, you'll start getting, and there were some people who wanted to take me for a ride. I mean, that's part of it. Thank God I had enough foresight to really know where that's going. But ultimately, eventually you'll get to the point where and it's not important about the movie deal. It's important about the development side of it. If it ever gets into a movie, at least the development's working. The optioning, they purchase, and then if they don't make the movie by that time, then somebody else options it, and then they buy it. So it's constant money exchanging, and that's what you got to look at. You have to really look at the bigger picture. And this is only one IP. That's another thing. You've got to have a list of IPs when things start rolling, because they ask, "Hey, what else you got? What else do you have? What can we do some?" Because they want to make as much money as they possibly can on this wave, and that's something you really. So when you're designing your ideal storytelling, you've got to have multiple streams. Like I was telling, diversify again, not money grab, but tell the stories that you want to talk about. Maybe they'll be marketable. I don't know, but you have to build your networking. You've got to meet people. You've got to interact and have integrity with people. Don't be legitimate with them. Say, listen, I'm a writer. I'm not gonna pitch you right now. I really like this. Maybe sometime if I get your information, I can send you something out. And however you guys do it, because sometimes there was a lot of gatekeeping. You couldn't submit certain things if it wasn't published, because by law they can't look at anything that's not copyrighted, because that could be theft. There's a lot. It goes on and on. So it was a real big learning curve, really, really big learning curve. So, but it took a long time, and like I said, I'm not, it can happen. It can happen to any of us. If you get the right people with the right story, it can happen to any of us. So I don't know if that answered the question, but
yeah, no, it's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, that was great. That's awesome, Ted. And we have had some really awesome comments. I unfortunately do not have the air to say all of them, but I just want to kind of give a highlight really quick. Sarah says 100% Ted. It's very, very interesting. Glimby Fleming says, my art took me all around the world. There is money there. And we got to the moon. Someone made it happen. You can too. I love that. And then finally, Glimby Fleming says, a person only learns from failure. And that is absolutely true. Sorry. Oh, all right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. Ted, thank you so much for being here, dude.
Guys, it's a pleasure. Great. Thank you.
You dropped some wisdom on us, and we'll have you back here soon, talking about another topic, and we'll pick your brain about that too. And thank you all for being in the comments section. You guys blew it up. It was great. It was more than I could handle, more than my little lungs could handle tonight. So thank you for that. That's actually a great problem. I love that. Really quick, Ted, one more time before we head out, let everybody know where they can find your current work that you're working on and buy some books you've already made.
Sure. TedDaviesArtistry.com. Everything that I do, just go to that portal first, and then it'll have everything: Instagram connection, YouTube, the whole shot. So Facebook, follow me. Get involved with all my podcasts, everything that we're doing. Check everything on YouTube. Ted Davies Artistry. I want to get those numbers up. We've got a lot of things coming up this year, so looking forward to it. And get out in some of those shows. Come down to Lexington, Kentucky. Come see us at the end of the month in March. Looking forward to that. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll probably end up doing some kind of show potentially
Absolutely.
at Lexington. Hopefully, that would be a lot of fun. We're going to talk
That'd be
about
awesome.
that, so we'll have to get you involved in that.
Bring my whole basement.
Absolutely. It'll be a blast. It'll be a good time.
It'll be great. So thank you guys again for being a part of the discussion. Please subscribe and like if you haven't already. Also hit that bell to be notified. If you don't, then we will send Chad to your house, and trust me, you don't want that. No, thank you guys once again. Next week, Chad, what we got going on? Do you know?
Well, I was hoping we could reach out to the Comic Book Spectrum guys and maybe do a crossover. If not, we also have a couple of shows on tips, tricks, and techniques for creativity. And then we want to throw in a guest interview here in the next few weeks.
All right, we got some good stuff coming up. I like that Comic Book Spectrum crossover. I don't really know why I love it so much, but I just do.
Chaos, but controlled chaos. It's fun.
Yes, exactly. But no, thank you guys all again. And remember, kids, have fun, be safe. And you know what? The future of comics looks bright, so go out and buy one of ours. How's that? Have a great night, everybody. We love you. We thank you very much for being here, and have a great week. We'll see you next time.